r/AskReddit, what did the pandemic ruin more than we realize? I'm not sure if anyone else feels the same way, but my perception of time hasn't really returned back to normal since then. It ruined me on traffic. For one glorious year, as an essential worker, I had the roads almost entirely to myself. It was beautiful. Grocery shopping at 2 a.m. was the best thing ever. Now I have to shop with the rest of you hooligans and it fucking sucks. Night shift people lives. Nothing is ever open late anymore. My perception on money. I worked so hard to pay off debt, save up for a new house, get promotions. Now with the rise of housing costs and inflation, I feel like money is literally such a made-up thing and I have no control over anything, even with all the right decisions. I feel like everyone is more bitter now. Like we all saw through the sham of society. Time feels different now. Things just feel off compared to pre-2020. Price of eating out. This might just be local, but where I live, a shit ton of businesses closed. I mean, half of them were closed. Not just because of the shutdown, they were closed permanently. No school on snow days. As a teacher, I can say that it's definitely affected kids in a way people don't realize. Kids who had their first year of school, or even second, during the pandemic act quite different than kids who had a normal introduction to school. Many of them seem to have fewer social skills and higher anxiety than kids from previous years. We were never in this together. Used car market is completely fucked, as are flight prices. The cost of living is pretty fucked. Any type of 24/7 business is just a memory. I went to go get Taco Bell at 10 o'clock and it was closed. Feels like it's a more to each their own sense of living. People don't appear to be as connected as before the pandemic. Essential versus non-essential employees, better known as those who had to show up physically in person, and those allowed to stay home. Biggest division in the workplace. Mentally it will never be the same in the workplace. Independent/smaller/DIY music venues never really recovered. The lockdowns happened during my last semester of university. I've never had an in-person job, only work from home, which I realize is a blessing but also makes it feel like I don't know, like it's not real. I have no work friends, have never met my supervisor in person, I do all my work from my desk in my room. It feels like pretend. The health system is wrecked. Way too many nurses got burnt out and left the profession. I'm in my 40s, but the pandemic really cut the list of friends I socialized with in half. We got out of the habit of seeing one another, and now that things are back to normal, we just made a habit out of not having dinner dates and stuff like that. When I realized this was happening, it made me look back and realize that I was the one who used to plan things and reach out. I made the conscious decision to stop being the one who always reached out, called and texted, and I now see that I'm only in touch with half the people that I used to be. Edit, I am not talking about socially awkward, depressed, introverted people. If anything, I'm the introvert, and I still always made a point to reach out. I'm referring to people who still go out, celebrate holidays and birthdays and socialize. Just not with me anymore apparently. There are only so many times I can try and make plans with people who don't do the same with me. I cannot be the one putting 100% into a friendship. Time perception 2019 was 3, soon to be 4, years ago. Edit, thank you for all the likes and award. This is the most karma I've gotten on Reddit, so kind of kicking myself for not using my main account, lol. My social/work life, after living like a hermit for 2 years and working from home, it's taking me a long time to go out like before. Children's education, mental health, coping skills, and socialization. My wife is an elementary educator, and it's shocking how far kids regressed during the pandemic. By almost every measure, this generation of kids is in big trouble. I'm optimistic that the trend will right itself over time, but it's really sad to see. People's driving is so out of whack, my only concern is to make it home in one piece. My waistline, and my mental well-being. It's my own fault, but I was about 6 months sober and working out daily before COVID. A few days later, half my department and my co-manager are laid off. I'm suddenly working 14-hour days in extremely stressful conditions. Walking my dog and working out took a backseat to a shot or two of Jack to calm my nerves and whatever comfort food I could get from Grubhub. Life is better now, but I haven't quite kicked all the bad habits I gained from those days. Stress affects me differently, and I'm a lot more sensitive to it than I used to be. Increased polarization of people politically, socially, economically. Young people's desire to go into healthcare. We won't realize it for a generation or so, but healthcare in America was already chronically understaffed. The pandemic burning out medical professionals and discouraging young people from going into healthcare is going to have a negative effect on the quality of healthcare, not only in the United States, but other hard-hit countries, too. People seem so much shittier in large group public situations now. I don't know what it is, but etiquette in places like a movie theater used to be standard, but every experience I've had lately has been horrible. People talking, sitting there on their phones, and other just generally bad things. I've heard the same about concerts, but haven't been to as many myself. I've heard from others where people used to be polite, help each other up in pits and stuff and so on, they now just don't give a fuck. It's like people are just more rude now for some reason. I'm really interested to know if this is happening everywhere or if I just live in a shitty rude ass place. Everything just feels off, people are rude, no parties or overnight hangouts, most people nowadays keep themselves busy on their phones and TikTok. My mental health also took a hit. The time before 2020 feels like a colorful fantasy while the present one feels like a dystopian world. Every holiday for 2020 was on a weekend, except Cinco de Mayo, that was going to be on a Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. It was going to be the best party year ever. Instead, a week before St. Patrick's Day, the world shut down. Honestly, I don't think we've ever reached closure from it, and I don't know that we ever will. I read in a psychology magazine that the human brain changed in 2 years what our brains traditionally change in 10 years. This post's answers verify that. Leaving the house. Goes to Subway, I can make a better sandwich at home. Goes to a nail salon, I can paint my nails better than this lady. Goes to a hair salon, I've been cutting my hair solo for 2 years now, I'm a pro. Goes to work, I can do all of this more efficiently at home. Goes to Applebee's, I can provide myself with mediocre service at home. Goes to Walmart, I can order all of this online. Why did I leave the house again? It pushed people away from social gatherings with friends and family and mostly replaced that with screen time. It fucked us up socially, we are more alone than ever. Modern dating. Well, due to COVID and healthcare fuckery, when I got really sick, not COVID, January 2020, and then all the doctor's offices shut down, and my appointments got rescheduled. And then rescheduled again. And I didn't get the care I needed. The first appointment I had with a specialist ended up being August 2020, and after that it was so hard to get appointments set up because everyone was so backed up from not seeing people for so long. I went to the ER a couple times. But I have a rare thing. They were not able to help me. And because of that I have permanent nerve damage in my head. I'm basically trapped in a never-ending migraine. Cause of how COVID fucked up seeing doctors. Also, making doctor's appointments is a lot harder than pre-COVID. Shit sucks. What do you mean 3 months? No. This isn't a 3 to 4 month issue. This is a 2-week max issue. I've had 2 brain surgeries in the past year. I have no thyroid. Do you really want to tell me 3 months? Do you know what happened the last time I was made to wait 3 months? Cerebral spinal fluid had started gushing out of my nose. When I need to talk to a doctor, I need to talk to a doctor. Children's education, attitude, and manners. As a teacher, there is definitely a noticeable difference after COVID in these things. The attitudes and blatant disrespect is unbelievable. I don't take any of it personally, so it doesn't wear on me so much, but I can absolutely see why some teachers are burnt out because of it. Worker/employee relationships. A lot of people woke up to how shitty a deal we have it in the United States. Wealthiest country in the world. No guaranteed sick leave, no paternal/maternal leave. We gave big business bailouts and they still raised prices and fired workers. I honestly don't think the majority of Americans especially truly understand just how fucked the healthcare system is and is going to be. Not just staff burnout, but we have nationwide back orders on some really key medications and even things like blood and albumin shortages. There have been times that we've literally just not had the supplies available to give a blood transfusion and have had to resort to alternative treatments for things like seizures because we simply do not have the normal medications available. We have major equipment shortages too. There were several months that we couldn't consistently get Foley catheter kits and we're having to Frankenstein things together. Currently the only A-line kits my facility has are the double port ones that we use for swans. Bariatric beds? Good luck finding one. Entire supply chains and productions lines have ground to a halt. Add staff burnout, staffing shortages, increased patient loads, deceased equipment, and it's just a domino tower. But most people? Not a single fucking clue. My sense of purpose or meaning. I haven't felt this nihilistic since I was a brooding teenage girl. 20 years later and now it's actually more of an existential hell. This is in relation to actual virus plus politics plus societal response. People are just mean. Most people have careers and work at companies that if either disappeared tomorrow, the only suffering would be from the employees without salaries anymore. View on people, their hygiene, and their mental capacity. I started to notice that people cough and sneeze without using their hand/arm and just do it into the open, into a room or hallway full of people, directly at people. When they wear a mask they would remove the mask before sneezing or coughing into the open, all without any remorse or understanding why this would be bad or generally why it would be disgusting, no matter if it's during a pandemic or not. This still happens, daily I see someone doing it. It's mind-blowing to me, absolutely mind-blowing, considering what we all went through and why. Niche retail. There was this cool place that sold vintage Chanel, Hermes, 70s pieces. They needed the exploratory foot traffic to survive. COVID killed them. Family relations. Vaxxed vs anti-vax, mask vs no mask, COVID deniers vs lockdown advocates. Fractured a lot of my family and many others. I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but certainly where I live a lot of the stores and restaurants still have shitty hours. They close a lot earlier than they used to before the pandemic and there's no sign of them ever returning to their normal hours of operation, which really sucks for people like me whose schedules only allow for late night shopping trips. Another thing I've noticed with certain restaurants is their quality of food and taste have suffered dramatically. Some of my favorite places to eat aren't nearly as good as they used to be. We lost a Halloween that was on a Friday with a blue moon. We ain't getting that shit back ever. The belief that Americans are able to come together in a crisis and be willing to make sacrifices for the greater good. We'll never trust each other again. The supply chain is still fucked 6 ways from Sunday, with no sign of returning to normal anytime in the near future. My ability to tolerate people and their bullshit. Printed menus, call me snarky, but scrolling through your phone at dinner, whether with family or on a date, is shitty. People's ability to drive. Drivers are far more aggressive post-COVID, and even fewer people are using their signals. When you combine social media with a global pandemic, it forced all of us to realize people don't suffer equally. In the age before social media, we could rely on tradition or culture to justify sacrificing to come together. Nowadays we must be guarded to not be exploited. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you have enjoyed this video and subscribe to never miss an upload.